Yo, what up, folks? This is Digital Jedi, and welcome to the first edition of DJ's A Matter of Perspective. I struggled with the name for this video series for a little bit because they're technically reviews, but it's difficult for me to explain why I don't really like the term reviews, even though I'll probably use it here and there without thinking in my videos and in my channel descriptions. Um, I think most reviewers talk as if they know what they're talking about. I don't. I admit that freely. What I'm giving you is my opinion. And what this series of videos will do is I'll discuss movies and TV shows and comic books and anything I feel like talking about from my personal perspective. And I think that's the fun, or should be the fun, of reviews. They should be people talking about the things that they liked, the things that they dislike, but not telling you what you should think or stating their opinion as if it's fact. Okay, so to give you my initial thoughts on Fantastic Four, please be warned there are definitely going to be spoilers ahead, obviously. So if you do want to see the movie and you haven't, we will be discussing significant spoilers and clips in this video series. My initial thoughts when watching the first act of Fantastic Four was I was actually kind of enjoying it. I liked seeing young Reed Richards. I liked seeing young Ben Grimm meet for the first time. I liked seeing how Reed has had that intellect for a very long time and how he's had these ideas that he's been working on since childhood. I think they reflected young Reed Richards very well, actually, in this movie. But the interesting thing about this movie is I felt like he's the only character that they actually spent any time developing. We got a little bit of Johnny, probably enough to establish what his character is. It's not like there's a whole lot to Johnny that's nuanced. He's young, he's a hothead, he's cocky, he's sure of himself. And but at the same time, he's supposed to be charming. And that kind of worked in the little bit of time we got to see him talk and interact with people. We hardly got any character development for Sue. We hardly got any character development. Actually, I think the person who suffered the most as far as character development goes was Ben. They didn't really establish why he and he and Reed were friends from childhood. They just kind of met, and they just kind of stayed together. But they didn't give us a real solid reason for why they stayed friends for so long. And actually, Ben didn't hardly talk all that much. I know that Trank had tweeted when the movie first came out that the studios had taken his initial story and basically butchered what he had originally intended, that they edited things together in a way that he was not happy with. And you can tell, but you can't tell until maybe about a third or 2/4 way into the film, particularly when the narrative of the story just kind of jarringly switches. At the beginning, they seem to be pacing things well. Whether or not you agree with how they portrayed the individual characters, whether or not you agree they gave individual characters enough screen time, whether or not you thought that the characters accurately portrayed the comic book characters, the movie itself seemed pretty solid up until the point they got the military involved. And then when the military got involved, it felt like Whiplash, like you were jerked into a direction that you weren't expecting to go. I don't really have a problem with the idea that the military wanted to turn them into weapons. That's a unique take and different take on the film, on the concept. But it sort of didn't seem to fit with the story that they were building. As far as everything past that, you almost don't, you kind of stop caring at that point. And I think that's where the movie would have lost a lot of people, but had they actually gone to go see it. With all that said, I don't think the movie's that bad in of itself. So, if you think about it from a strictly logical perspective, most moviegoers don't really know all that much about the Fantastic Four. Most people that go to see any of these comic book movies kind of only know the comic book characters from the movies. So in of itself, I don't think this movie should have done as badly as it did. It's not that it's a great superhero movie. It's not that it's even one of the great superhero movies. It's just not that bad. And if you're going to see this movie from the perspective that you don't really know anything about the Fantastic Four, I don't really think you should hate it that much. And I don't think anybody really went to this movie to go make that determination for themselves. Some of the reviews and opinions I've seen from moviegoers who just went to see the movie despite the bad press said that they thought it was a pretty good science fiction movie. Not a great one, but a pretty good one. Some comic fans who went ahead and went to see the movie said that it was also a fairly decent science fiction movie. It just didn't seem to have a whole lot to do with the Fantastic Four. To more or less, I sort of kind of agree with that. I think it's an okay science fiction film. I think it's a fun science fiction film. But the only way that you can enjoy this particular movie is if you kind of let go of the notion that characters that you really, really like are being portrayed in a dramatically different way. In some cases, they're not. Like, as poorly developed as Thing was, that was basically him. He did say it's clobbering time. He did throw that in there, even though he didn't really seem to. I guess that didn't resonate because they didn't really establish that was the thing that Ben says. So that would have only been familiar to people who were familiar with Fantastic Four to begin with. Reed's stretchy powers were pretty cool. I think they could have done maybe a little bit more with it. Maybe more was done and it was edited out. I like the actress that plays Sue. I don't really have an issue with her. Now, getting into this guy, well, Doom is a difficult character to pull off. If we start getting into the issues of bringing Doctor Doom to the silver screen, I don't know that they'll ever be able to get this exactly right. There's going to have to be some special magic in work for them to get Doctor Doom precisely the way he should be done. He's a very, very unique character. He's also a very cliched character. And the only reason he's cliched is because he was one of the first people to be the megalomaniac, super smart, super technical, super powerful villains who constantly talk to himself. He talked to himself not only just because so that the readers of the comic book would know what he was talking about. He talked to himself because he was recording everything he said. He didn't want to miss a moment. So he was constantly expositioning. He was constantly giving us exposition on what he was doing. They probably could do something like that with Doom in the movie, but obviously that's not the route they wanted to go with here. I had heard some people say that he was not actually called Victor Von Doom in the film. I don't know where that came from because he was definitely Victor Von Doom in this film. He was actually called Dr. Doom at one point. And you actually saw on a piece of paper where he was from Latveria. So that was weird. Also, his motivations kind of had shifted. He wanted to destroy the world in this one rather than remake it into his own image. He wanted to remake this other world into his own image, which kind of is contrary to the old Doom, who has a real fondness for his home country. All in all, I don't have I don't hate this movie. I don't know that I hate any movie. Even movies that are just terribly awful, I love them for the fact that they're bad. I don't think this movie is bad. I just think it has some bad elements that were ultimately going to hurt it, but they never got a chance to because people didn't really turn out to see it. This would be my advice to you as just a person who loves going to see movies. If you like movies, watch it. It's not like you're going to accomplish anything better if you see a movie you do like. This is what we do. We watch movies, we enjoy them, we have fun. If there's something wrong with them, hey, movies are supposed to be about degrees. Not every experience you have in life is going to be the best or the greatest. You know, it would get super boring if everything was way up here on level 9. This movie is probably way down here on level 5, but it's still kind of a fun movie to watch, even though it's probably not good enough to become part of the cinematic universe that Fox over there is making. I will say this. I don't have a problem with them starting over, starting fresh, and rebooting this series again. Because, for those that know me, I've been around long enough to have seen, let's see, I've seen 3 Captain Americas, 3 Hulks, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 Spider-Mans, at least 2 Wonder Women. At this point, reboots don't really affect me anymore. The only time that they might bother me is if they get rid of a universe that I was really thoroughly enjoying to start a new one. And then even then, if they do a good job, I'll still watch it. I'll still be there. But as far as this one goes, like I said, it's a decent film with some big flaws, and they probably won't be losing anything major if they go ahead and reboot this franchise. I feel bad for the actors involved. I feel bad for the director involved, because I don't think any one person should be shouldering as much negative criticism as they are over what amounts to 2 hours of your life that you were going to spend watching something useless anyway. So, and I don't think Trank is a bad director. From what I could tell, looking at the scenes that were shot, the way they were shot, none of the actors are bad actors. They're all decent actors. Trank seems to know what he's doing as far as cinematography goes, as far as pacing goes. But I can tell at some point, somewhere in the editing process, things kind of went awry. And that's too bad. It might have actually been a better movie. And I hope one day we actually get a director's cut, because I would see that. I would watch that. May even have a case of a Ben Affleck style Daredevil here, where if you haven't seen the director's cut of that one, I know I haven't. That will be in one of my future matters of perspective. But all the reviews I hear about the director's cut of Daredevil is that it's actually a really good movie. But what they did is they edited in a little. They tried to capitalize on the success of Jennifer Garner, and that hurt the movie more than it helped it. We'll see. Yeah, but to sum it up, I think people should actually go see this movie. Should actually rent this movie. Just because I don't think enough people made their own determination on this film. Too many people are going by what other reviewers and what other people said. And my philosophy in life is that everything that you should, if you can experience it yourself, you should experience it yourself. You should be the one to formulate your own opinion and not rely on the opinions of other people's. Yeah, so with that said, be sure to look out for my other video series that I'll be starting soon, where I fan cast a Fantastic Four reboot. Like I said, I don't think this one, even if people had turned out to see it, even if it had done marginally well, I don't think it's strong enough to carry a whole franchise. So I'll be giving my opinions on, if I got to cherry pick my own actors and actresses, how I would do a Fantastic Four film, and how I would bring it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hey, it's fan casting. We can dream, can't we? In any event, thanks for watching. This is Digital Jedi, and as they say in Ireland, peace and chicken grease. Talk to you cats later. Peace out. There seemed to be some issue people had with the way the thing was done. I really don't see it. He's a big orange rock guy, so I don't really see what the problem is there. The issue was with his personality and not his design. And if you're a big rock guy, odds are you're not going to need pants. I'm just saying, physics and all that. It's probably the way it's going to work out.
He's a big rock-skinned orange guy. He looks like the Thing. He actually looks like the first interpretation of the Thing. Okay, yes, I know he has no pants, and apparently he's fertililess. I'm just saying, man, if you were turning into a big giant rock monster, that's probably what would happen. I'm just saying, there's probably no need for pleasantries. And I'm saying. She's lovely. And yeah, I know he's not got all the parts that you think he should have, but he's a rock monster. There's a reason that he's sad and depressed about being a rock monster, because logically those little BVD drawers that he used to wear were just for show, and it's sad and unfortunate, but stuff happens. What I'm saying is it's not that big a deal from a cinematic standpoint. He's rockless. Technically speaking, can you say he's got the stones for anything?